Alright, it's Saturday, so I figure I'd do a few things with Saturday morning cartoons, with some of my DVDs and my comic books. Not everything I got, but this is probably pretty much some of my more favorite stuff. I watched cartoons in the 70s religiously every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and I'm still scarred by the time when they had the Super Friends on ABC. Then they had him on CBS with it was Batman and the New Adventures of Batman and Robin, with Robin West and the guy that played Robin from the old 60s TV show doing the voices. For you guys that are not old enough to remember, we had 3 channels plus PBS, and that was it. Saturday morning cartoons were it, you know. Moving on here, getting on here. One of the things that I have here that I pulled off my bookshelf is the Saturday morning TV collectibles guide. And this is just full of toys and lunch boxes and how much they're worth. First thing we hit there is a little Space Ghost and lunchbox, Underdog. Really great stuff in here. Even if you're not like into like making money at this, it just kind of told you how much they were worth. Gives you a few ideas what to find. Like, I never realized that Isis, which I watch on Netflix, you know, had a coloring book or anything. She actually had merchandise. So basically it's alphabetical order, letter I, Vicious Sam, Isis Hour. It gives you some of the stuff they had. Jabberjaw. Let's see what we have here. And of course we have a few color pages. Kind of hurts because I actually had some of this stuff and gave it away. Like, I don't know what I want more. Do I want the Hong Kong Phooey lunchbox? Or do I want the Addams Family lunchbox, which I never saw? Okay. So the first thing I'm going to set out on, I guess, if I had to really pick my all-time favorite, it's a toss-up between Land of the Lost of the 70s, not that 90s blasphemous show, or Johnny Quest. Now, as I go through these, you'll see the plastic is still attached to them. When I buy DVDs, I just cut down the side, and they'll fall right out. Keeps my box in, you know, a little bit of protection there. And if I decide to go through and retrade them at a DVD store, CD store, game store that'll take and get store credit, you know, it shows they're just that much better credit. So what we have here is Amazing Heroes number 95. Let's see what year this was made. This was from 1986. This is a really good one to try to find on, you know, if you can catch it if you're a Johnny Quest fan. All Johnny Quest issues. Okay. It has a big interview with Doug Wadley, Quest for Adventure articles throughout, complete episode guide, interviews with Conan, you know, Mr. Hanna and Mr. Barbera, characters through all of the Johnny Quest. Then you get Doug Wadley's 2 cents in on this with some sketches that he did. It's the stuff he was doing in the 80s. Now, if you don't know who Doug Wadley is, you guys are really missing out on a great comic book visionary and artist when it comes to getting outside of the comic books and really influencing a lot of people that outside of comics. You have Alex Toth, you have Doug Wadley through their Saturday morning work with Hanna-Barbera. I think Doug Wadley did a little filmation here, which we'll see. Moving on here. So, skipping around here. Comico in the 80s. Johnny Quest came on at prime time on a Friday night back in the early 60s. Lasted 1 season barely, but it was reran for close to maybe 10, 20 years on every network. I had to get up at 6:30 and 7 o'clock in the morning to watch this. And it's almost like a whole new show because as a kid it seems like they were different and things didn't make sense. It's because they edited out the violence. This show had people, you know, getting shot, dying. Like I said, it wasn't supposed to be a Saturday morning cartoon. Well, in the mid-80s, there's a little bit of a resurgence of Johnny Quest, and they came out with some new cartoons that were just awful. In my opinion, I don't mean to be so negative on it, just I like the source material. But anyway, Comico came out, and they got Doug Wadley to come back and do some comics. This lasted, I don't know, I think 31 issues, and William Messner Loebs, who wrote the Max and Wonder Woman there for, you know, just a reference there, wrote these, and I believe this won a few awards. as it deservedly did. Now, like I said, I'm a fan of the source material, but the people they had working on this stuff ranged from Steve Rude, Bill Sienkiewicz, Adam Kubert, and there's Jade. It goes into the Jade issues are just amazing in this. Okay, moving on here. I mean, some of these issues were really good and some were really lame. This went back and forth, but I just love the fact they got Doug Whatley to come in and do some of this stuff. I also have some comics, which I don't know if in this, but he redrew a miniseries, the one with the Condor in the title. But anyway, he came and went back and he redrew some of the original Johnny Quest episodes in comic book form, and he did some minor changes of the way he pictured it. There's Jade. And there's also a Jade miniseries I found out I want to track down, and it explored pretty much Race Bannon and her relationship, which they just kind of touched on in the show. And if you think about it, in the old Johnny Quest cartoon show, I think Jade was probably one of the only females to actually show up with a speaking role. Well, that's like a Doug Whatley. Yeah, Doug Whatley is one of my all-time favorites, just because the guy just did everything. Space issue. Okay. And like I said, track some of these down. If you find them cheap, that's good. If you're just a hardcore fan. Okay, Race Bannon Detective. Now what I do want to point out in these books is they have a story of pretty much gives you an idea of what happened to Johnny Quest's mother, if you really want to know. And I don't know if that really needed to be told. Okay, moving on here. We got the 60s. Alright. We have a Monkey's Dale. Okay, for you guys, the Crop Super Show. What's great about that is that there was a Wild Boy and Bigfoot segment on this show. Maybe it was like 5 or 10, just a few minutes. And nobody but me, it seemed like around where I live, remembered the little segment. Well, they finally came out where they released a few of these Crop Super Shows, little segments, and I'll show you the DVD here in a minute on DVD. And now people, I was just so happy to find it. And of course I found it on YouTube and everything. Valley of the Dinosaurs, little Charlton Comics there. Loved it. That almost looks like a burn cover, but I'm not going to say it is or isn't. He worked for Charlton. I don't know what year this is, before he went to DC. Alright, now we get into some Marvel here. Blue Falcon and Dynamite. I absolutely loved this cartoon, and I think I could probably still watch it now right there with Hong Kong Phooey. That little Yogi Bear. These are Marvel books. Number 2 and 6 of just whatever Hanna-Barbera cartoon they wanted to do that month. These are from the 70s. They're actually pretty good. Okay. Here we go. Got some Whitman comics. Hanna-Barbera Harlem Globetrotters. Look up on YouTube the original opening to the original Harlem Globetrotter cartoon. It's just like a little scat and a beat. It's really great. And for you guys that don't know about the Harlem Globetrotters, they came out later with superpowers. Cocaine was a hell of a drug in the 70s. Okay, the Hair Bear Bunch. I liked that cartoon. There we go. Little Gold Key Roadrunner there. Now, Abbott Costello, they're in the stack here. It seems like I remember seeing an Abbott Costello cartoon, but if it was a Saturday morning, it's before my time. The Funky Phantom. That was an interesting cartoon. It seems like they were always having, after Scooby-Doo hit, Scooby-Doo? They seem to have a whole bunch of kids going out doing mysteries. And then DC keeps Cartoon Network comic that was going through the 90s. I got that one because it has Birdman in it. I don't know who did that cover, but it looks pretty good. Alex Toth. I bought this trade of the Super Friends comic from the 70s. This is really bland stuff. But, Alex Toth, he did the character designs, and I believe he created Space Ghost. Not just the look, but he created Space Ghost. He worked on the Herculoids and into the 70s with the Super Friends and on and on. Of course, we had some Wonder Twins stories reprinted in this. And I'm trying to find the, yeah, this is it. They had a whole issue where there was a costume party, And the people who dressed up like these characters got stuck in their costume and really started acting like the Demon and Solomon Grundy and Bizarro and so on, and Man-Thing and Swamp Thing. Or, yeah, Man-Thing. Is it Man-Bat? Excuse me, Man-Thing is Marvel. Now, these issues, I really went back and forth on whether or not to put them in the Saturday morning. Rema the Jungle Girl, look her up on Wikipedia too. This first issue is wonderful, beautiful art. Rema popped up in the first season back in '73, the Super Friends cartoon. Seems like she had her own little cartoon there for a little bit. I'll look it up later. But I have issue 1, number 2, number 6. I'm going to get some bags for these. Gorgeous stuff. And number 7, fighting the bear in the jungle. I believe she's in the jungles of South America. I'm going to show you some artwork in this real quick because this is just wonderful stuff to be from the 70s. 1974. Okay. That is just wonderful. And the art's pretty consistent throughout. The first issue does not have credits in it that I could locate. There's credits in the second issue, but you know, we're moving on here. Okay, some DVDs I had now that we're in the 70s. Okay, and on the back of this, over 2.5 hours, we have the first episode of H&R Puffin Stuff, The Bugaloos, Lidsville, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, Electra Woman and Dinah Girl. Electra Woman went on to be, it's Deidre Hall, she went on to be on, what was that, Days of Our Lives. Wonderbug, Bigfoot, and Wild Boy. And they're chasing UFOs in this, I believe. Yeah. Bugaloos. And I actually didn't really discover this show until the early 80s because they started rerunning Sid and Marty Krofft stuff when I was like about, I don't know, 9 or 10 at 5 o'clock in the afternoons. Doug Wadley worked on this. This is the Return of the Planet Apes cartoon that came out Saturday mornings. You look down right there. That's like a little race van going there. You know, it's got every episode on there, the date they were on, and they put them back in the right order, I think, in this one. There's something going on where some of the storylines kind of looked weird because they flipped some of the episodes, and Saturday morning cartoons did not like shows like this and Flash Gordon having any kind of continuity because they would rerun the episodes based on ratings. And you know, if you can't get good ratings on an episode, that makes no sense because you had to see the week before and the week after. Moving on here. The movie that came out of this, I pretend it doesn't exist. It's awful. Land of the Lost. Season 1. Season 2. And I bought this just to complete the set. You can skip this one, the 3rd season. Land of the Lost, I could probably do a whole segment on it. The episodes, pretty much the people who worked on Saturday mornings there got this low budget show and they snuck in a really dark, scary show. It is heavy on sci-fi. They brought in Larry Niven, a great sci-fi writer, to come in and write a few of them. Walter Koenig from Star Trek came in and wrote an episode. And they had a few writers that worked on Star Trek, so there's a lot of in-jokes on there. Just really solid sci-fi. It's probably the Sci-Fi Channel ought to maybe go back and look and see how they wrote this and do some of their shows like that. Schoolhouse Rocks. Look these up. My favorite is I'm Just a Bill, the original Figure 8, and 3 is the magic number, just to look at a few. But my favorite character is the cat shooting pool. I'm a big billiards fan. And I love playing. I love finding this. The complete Flash Gordon filmation from 1979. This is one of those shows that had continuity going to it. They did it in serials. They went back to the Al Williams stuff. You know, a lot of the comic got changed over the years in the strips because of evolution. They had hawk people and lizard people and stuff, so they had to go back and check it. Well, they were able to sneak a few things in here, such as Lion Man there. This actually goes back further into the source material. See if this one has the cards in it to show you real quick. Yeah, Gene Ha. Let's see who we got here first. Frank Cho. This comes with a little card by the comic guys who were fans. Jean Ha did one of the princess. That's Mongo's daughter. Anyway, you get the idea. It comes with a episode guide. But the second season, it's like somebody woke up and realized, hey, this isn't a traditional cartoon. And Filmation had the attitude there's only 7 plots. You turned the mold, you shrunk the characters and all that stuff, and all of a sudden it went from being this great serial, like old 40s movie serial, to your standard cartoon for Saturday mornings. He was getting chased by Flash Gordon got shrunk and got chased by a cat, and they just blew it. Okay, moving on to the 80s here. This is my bootleg, complete Thunder the Barbarian. Steve Gerber, Jack Kirby worked on this. Kirby did some character designs. Little in-jokes for like Ookla the Moth there. UCLA spells Ookla. That's enough said. Going back here in the 70s before I skip around here. Got some Planet of the Apes, Battle of the Planet comics. Alex Ross loved the cartoon, so he, did what he could to, that's Wizard half issue. I got my #1 here somewhere. He came in, did some plotting, he did some covers, and the only thing that keeps this series going seriously is the fact that he loved the cartoon. I love the covers, the imagery, storyline never really caught me. He goes in depth with a few of the characters. Kind of strayed from the cartoon, but he was playing and having fun. I mean, these covers are just wonderful. Okay. And I actually saw the last episode of this when I was like 5 or 6, and it didn't make sense because the way they animated this guy right here, he had female lips according to the way that the Japanese were animating this, or whoever was doing it. Turned out the bad guy was a hermaphrodite. I don't think it was ever shown in America again. Alright. Moving on here. Slimer #1. I think it's just funny they came out with this, and I can't believe I have it. I've held on to this for years, and it's funny stuff. We have a big, poster of the cover in there. And the end joke is that Slimer in the Ghostbusters movie was the ghost of John Belushi. For you guys, for you fans. Alright. Bruce Timm and Paul Dini came out with this, Harley and Ivy. An amazing story. Just pure fun. If you're a fan of the Paul Dini, Bruce Timm cartoon universe, Batman, Justice League, you'll probably like this, Superman. Now we go into the 90s here. I have my Tick cartoons, and these are lame because they actually both miss in one cartoon from each one. This one had a Cindy Crawford look-alike in one of the cartoons that the Mole Men worshipped. Well, Disney owns the Tick cartoons now, and afraid they don't want to get sued. Season 2, they left out the I Alone one, who's written by, I can't remember his name, but he's Jackson Public, who writes the Venture Brothers cartoon. He's one of the curators. He worked on the Tick, and if you watch the Venture Brothers, they get Ben Edlund. He was writing an episode of Season for them there for a while. Tick is one of the great cartoons. Closest to the source material is actually in there. Which brings me to these, for you Tick fans. Chroma Tick in color #1. The Tick series, however you can get them, as long as it's Ben Edlund. He started in 1988. He was going to college, and he was just kind of doing this on the side. The guy wanted to be in movies and TV. Long story short, he went from working on the Tick cartoon to working on Supernatural, the TV show. Great stuff. This one was adapted to a cartoon. Just changed a few of the characters. That's Dick Tracy if he had never stopped working. Okay? Just kept going. Really good stuff. Whoa. It's all good. Okay. Chainsaw Vigilante. That's pretty funny. This is a very funny one. #10. Barry, also known as the Other Tick. This was adapted into a cartoon, Tick vs. Tick. And it had a sequel. Now here's the thing about the Tick before you decide to do these. There are 12 issues that he, came out with whenever he, had time, wasn't in school, felt like doing it. But the sad thing is he never came back to complete the story. It was supposed to be in Tora Tora. leaves you the big cliffhanger of all the bunch of the Tick's villains getting ready to come after him. Kind of a Tick revenge squad. Never finished it. Just to throw this out there too, you get, this is sort of a who's who of the Tick universe. Tick Giant Circus of the Mighty, number 1 and 2. Be careful because they had the same cover. And I kind of get a kick out of the back of these. It's the trash left over after our circus is over. And the first issue, he's buying his tickets. So, we have buying ticket. We have thrown away the ticket. Show's over. And real quick, I went ahead and got this in here since it was in the stack. I went ahead and bought the Batman, the complete 5th season. When this came out, I didn't really see a need for another Batman cartoon because the Superman movie was coming out. And they have the Justice League episodes on these. And the Wraith, for you guys who are in the Batman lore, there was a sort of an anti-Batman who was called the Wraith. They put him in here, which is kind of cool. But this leads up to a lot of the Justice League coming in there. Now, what I'm saying here before, after downing this cartoon, is I just feel like they should have done the Superman cartoon. I believe in season 4 they did a Superman episode that was just fantastic, and I thought it was better than the Bruce Timm, Paul Dini stuff of the 90s. Just throw that out there. And for you guys that have hung in here with me, on my channel page I have a link to my Facebook, and also on my Facebook I have a little page, little group that kind of, it's for the Saturday morning cartoon stuff. I haven't really posted on there too much, but there's probably about, I think, 300 people on there, and we'll talk about Saturday morning cartoons and post videos and little memories in there. Anyway, on my channel, go to my channel and you'll see a link to my Facebook page, so come on over and jump in there. Thanks a lot and have a good Saturday.